Soe, soe, soe makulele, soe, 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 soe makulele, soe. Mino e nari matu krosu susao batewa hea. Soe, soe. Soe makulele, soe. Thanks and praise, dissidents. Welcome back to the party. I know I mentioned I'd get into Antarctica next. I think I'm going to set that aside for maybe an episode. There's a lot of geopolitical synchro-demystifying that needs to be done as the pressure is on with the great race. All of the race baiting and the rabbit hole chasing is in full season, we'll say. Just a couple peripheral factors. People might want to throw this in their interesting alignment list. Remember, the 5th of November. That will be the date of destiny coming up. And that marcation in time is aligning in incredibly fascinating ways. This event is marking 61 years since JFK. 61 is the periodic element of Prometheum. Prometheus is yet another hostage on the Andromeda correspondence where tax day is marked. And so Julian Assange coming out is absolutely Prometheus unbound, Prometheus unchained, bringing the light to man. And again, interesting thing about Prometheum, if you are into the sky stories from NASA, Andromeda is a key source of Prometheum. It is its primary luminary qualia, is Prometheum, which just reinforces the fact that Prometheum being number 61, 61 is the 18th prime number. So it lands on Andromeda again. And now, oftentimes in the Synchromystic circles, we will tell you, this is not admissible in court. This doesn't come across very appealing to the scientifically bound mentalities. And I'm going to buzz on how is it that I can weave Julian Assange to Prometheum and land on 18 and come back to the moon card yet again. How does this synchromysticism work behind the curtain? And the answer is alchemy is not science. I'm studying Alfred Whitehead again, and all the gems are there. All the gems are there. These panpsychists are flourishing gloriously because they know the difference between alchemy and science. They know a great many things. I'm learning every day. It's fascinating, and it rings true. It's not just fascinating. It also rings true. So, 61 Prometheum is the 18th prime. 18 is this moon card that is the rack that Andromeda, the hostage, is saved from. It's a key, crucial. Number 18 is the letter R. And it has the Ra. It has the Ra, the power of reversal. It also has the power of radium. That's why it's signifying the R2D2 is holding up the orb of Urania. Radium is 88. So the R2D2 is correspondent also with the 88. And this is alchemy, internal alchemy. And that's why science will never get it. They'll just never get it because the law of correspondence and the Hermetic principles have lost value in the scientific camp. People who want their hardcore facts. They are just cipher blind. They're totally cipher blind. It's alarming what comes out of scientists' mouth, that synchromystically means so much more than they'll ever see. So much more, because it's alchemy. And alchemy, here's what I'm learning. Alchemy, this is per the Whitehead camp. Alchemy is based on operational success. Operational success. And that is how the law of correspondence blooms beyond what we can get out our magnifying glass or our telescopes to fully encapsulate and appreciate. Alchemy is based on operational success, and that's why these myths and these legends and the information that is right there, just scattered amongst the tables, the math tables, the periodic tables, all of these established orders. It is within order that you will find the Hermetic principles doing things nobody imagined. Alchemy is operational success. This is why I harp on the fact that Carl Jung and the Gnostics are stuck in their own circuit of alchemy, because it is a snake eating its own tail. It's self-referential. It's pretty much complete. And it doesn't suffer from contradictions. And that's its special magical power. Science, on the other hand, is seeking for truth, and they're not going to find it in alchemy, because alchemy is hermetically sealed. It's a worldview that builds. Science progresses one funeral at a time. These two worldviews are they don't have to be enemies. They don't have to be enemies. It's just the difference between looking at the world with one eye or the other, really. And so when I harp on alchemy and the Jungian Gnostic thing, my biggest beef is that I know that the alchemical recipe of the salt, mercury, and sulfur spells nagas at large. And when you take the periodic symbols for salt, alchemy, and sulfur, you get God in those symbols. I don't know if you guys can see this. Salt, sulfur, no, excuse me. I said that wrong. Sulfur, mercury, salt. No, salt, mercury, sulfur spells God in their periodic symbols. And so there is a God in the alchemical systems that would piss off a lot of people who like that word God so much. It would really piss them off to be like, what? Alchemy already laid this out? And so the difference between alchemy and science is right here on the board, y'all. It's right here on the board. It's between the 7 and the 2. Everybody's, the 72, the Septuagint. They're like, these systems have been extremely well founded and fortified for millennia, beyond what little tiny words can try to draw the grand picture for people. Okay, I'm totally rambling. I'm going to come back to the alchemy in just a second. Also, November, the day to remember, marks 53 years since Nixon kicked the gold standard after France came to call on the gold, and Nixon took us right off the gold standard. That was in 71. So it's been 53 years since that. Interesting fact, 71, I'm pretty sure, is the 20th prime, which is an aeon reset, but it's been 53 years since. And 53 is the 16th prime. Both of these inaugural correspondences are highly powerful. We got JFK was 61 years, and off the gold standard is 53 years. They are talking in prime numbers primarily, and the prime numbers reduce down to periodic potentia. So 53 years ago was coming off the gold standard. 53 is the 16th prime. So we have the 16th prime and we have the 18th prime. This will be 16 is the letter P, 18 is the letter R, public relations. This is the grand filter. The PR is the grand filter. It's your prefrontal cortex. What else? PR. It's 79, right? 16 is the P, 18 is the R, and it's 1.618. It's the golden ratio, y'all. Some other kind of gold standard. But the golden ratio of 1618 reduces again to a 7 and a 9, which is the periodic symbol for gold. And so a lot of hullabaloo about the gold standard and where our values are and what's money anymore. It's coming to a fascinating culmination with the old erection system that's losing its potency. Oh man, Freud is like a patron saint above patron saints, and a lot of people just are not mature enough to have fun with how sexual our language is. Everybody takes it anal, that our language is just the thing of children. Really, our entire language is so juvenile. All right. Maybe that's why fathers start mastering the puns, because they're sick and tired of pretending like shit is not funny. Shit is so funny. All right, so yeah, don't take it anal, everybody. These events are fascinating as at the end of 2024, because 2025 is a sacred number. 2 + 2 = 5. This goes back to Orwell. And everybody's like, oh, that's nonsense. This is nonsense. Folks, you better get a sense for nonsense. It's past time. Y'all are late to the party. The nonsense is where it's at. 2 + 2 = 5. That is a hail to Venus. 225-day orbit. And it spells her name. V22. E5. Nus is the sun turned around. 225 days to turn around the sun. It's a very sacred year coming up, especially for the Pythagoreans. All right. Give thanks and praise. I'm going to fortify the claim about alchemy, the language of alchemy, and the Hermetic principles, that they do not suffer from contradictions. That was a very choice wording. It's not to say that there are no contradictions. It is to say that they anticipate contradictions, and they have a coping mechanism for that, an antiodomia. And in fact, when you come into contradictions, it becomes an augur in and of itself. Science can't be having that. They can't be having that. Opposites are opposites, antipode, as opposed to duality. Antipode versus duality. Polar versus dual. And this is the split. This is the split. It's the East and the West split. It's the big CIA op to get you to fight against your own mind. It's really fascinating. It's fascinating times. Prometheus was looking forward, foresight, and Epimetheus was looking backwards, hindsight. This is the Janus, and it also ties to the Rock of Gibraltar. So the perpetual contradictions are something we should all have coping mechanisms for. And that is a great deal of what psychology provides. And this acrimonious relationship of the 7 and the 2, it's beautiful because of, this was Zeus and this was Hera. in the Greek pantheon, and that is a difficult marriage. Falling into Helen, the Hellenization. The Helen is the patroness saint of archaeology and difficult weddings. And Antiodromia sums up difficult weddings in the psychic space. So I just want people to appreciate more that these two camps will forever turn up. They will forever turn up in our lives. They're not going away anytime soon. This difficult marriage between alchemy and science is really something to work through, and to use the pressure of the tension between the two to produce your art, to honor the muse. One really great definition I picked up for Alfred North Whitehead for his philosophy or his system. Somebody called it pan-experientialism with organizational duality, and that is really interesting. They're coming from the feeling groups towards balance, towards an established system that can persevere. Thanks and praise. So I think some of the most rewarding discoveries in researching Alfred North Whitehead. For one, I am cheating. I am using a preconceived notion to fulfill what I already know, because I have this map. And nothing that he says is not on this map. It's so profound. And while I read him, I'm finding his words describing what got me to this arrangement. Somebody summarized his entire system as pan-experientialism with organizational duality. That phrase seems all highfalutin and willy-nilly in the nimbus clouds, but it was raining down on me when I put these cards into the original Enneagram enantiodromic correspondences. That phrase describing his entire project would have been the title heading from the Slick Dissident presentation back when I had 2 cards in each station. Each of the 2 cards all the way around were either 9 months apart on a zodiac or 6 months apart on a zodiac. So no matter what 2 cards were pairing off, it was some derivative of a 6 or a 9 or a 6 or a 9. And the nature of the cards coming together were organizational duality, which fulfills the enantiodromia that alchemy does not suffer from contradictions. It doesn't suffer from contradictions. And this is why it just flies under the radar for a lot of those fact-dependent folk. One thing about facts, I will say this quickly. Facts exist only under licensure. Ever since King Charles I, the word facts almost slipped out of their grips. And a lot of people started to find their own facts, but they had to regulate all that. That's what the prize law was all about. The finder of facts is the judge. It will not go on the record without a witness, a sealed procedure. So you don't get facts. Nobody makes up their own facts. Nobody does. Not even the people telling other people they can't make up their own facts. The facts are sealed. They're sealed away. And all that the masses can do is work with theory. And that's what the scientific procedure is supposed to do. You work from the hypothesis to the theory, and when you make a discovery, then you check in and you go to the patent office and you get jacked. And screen the good for themselves and serve the byproduct onto the masses. The public-private split is the patent office. So all we get is theory. Not even the people checking your facts get the facts. That's not accessible to us. All we have is theory. So congratulations. You have freedom of thought again. Congratulations. And you don't have to suffer contradictions. I'm rambling. Pan-experientialism with organizational duality is a humdinger for the Slick Dissident project so far. But that was the public-facing system when I laid the symposium out originally. And I've gone through this reduction to come into the primes now. I'm reading Whitehead's work, and now that I suspect his claim on culture at large that Bertrand Russell quoted to have attributed to him, now that that claim to culture at large is in my heavens, I now see the light that is cultivating the synchromystic landscape in a most vast and profound way. On June 5th, there was an alien UFO sighting over North River, and the beams of light refracting off of the water were in the shape of the two pillars of Gemini. And so there was also a sighting just a few days later, almost the exact same lights. And then the Red Rocks amphitheater. That's right. They had another UFO of extremely crystal clear, corroborated reporting. Corroborated. I want to buzz on that one real quick. Corroborated. This is proof that you can never separate church and state, because Jesus had two corroborating witnesses. So the entire mercantile law is infused with and embedded into the language of the Bible. And so the separation of church and state can't be done because of the trademark capture that you can't even manage through the ecclesia without obeying the covenant. In your words, it's very Protestant Reformation time. It is very Protestant Reformation time. Everybody is looking at language. They start switching definitions there in Cleveland, conveniently to serve the lockdowns, and everybody gets mad because the abuse of language, the changing of language, is the most heinous crime. It is the most despicable abuse of power. Changing definitions right under people. It's Reformation time for sure, y'all. People are peeved. Okay, I'm ranting. Alfred North Whitehead was, I believe, getting quite a few hail signs in the media in fascinating ways. But what gets me is when I look at these images, one shot is on the North River, and the other shot is the amphitheater, Boulder Red Rocks Amphitheater. The shapes of the landscape in the journalism is bringing forward the Ara-Altair constellation, which I'll try to bring a graphic. The Ara-Altair constellation is a very fascinating shape, geometric form. It's the altar, and this is the change. And when you pivot the constellation of Ara-Altair, it makes the Enneagram. Also, a week before that, somebody found an underwater antenna array just off the coast of Cuba. And I'll bring a picture for that. But even the array was in the shape of the Ara-Altair constellation. Again, evoking change and alterations. Change your mind, change your sense of whatever. But in Ara-Altair is the Manta Ray Nebula. It's called the Ray Nebula. And this hits real close to home for me in some of my practices. And one of the foundational maneuvers in Capoeira is the Ara the ray is the kick of the stingray, which I'll take it. I'll go the distance. Your body shape when you do the first fundamental kick in capoeira, your body shape is in the perfect shape of the Ara Altair constellation. It's a vast weave for me to try to convince people that capoeira moves are star dancing. It would take me forever with my limited technological capabilities. But I've been dancing in the stars for years, and it really shakes my girdle to find out that I was dancing star dance. I was dancing star dance all along. So I recognize this Ara Altair when I see it, and it is also in the shape of Gibraltar, the Hebrew altar, where the blood of Jupiter was spilled, and a great amount of acrimony is just deeply embedded into Spain in the ground there. Okay, Whitehead. Many of his proclamations were turned into artillery in psychological operations throughout my lifetime, and now I can see that this whole system has been up and running all along. That's what's alarming for me. A lot of people want to do self-help so they can help themselves do better in the future, and I'm getting into this thing, and I'm looking back at the past, and I am marveling at the consistency that this thing is proving out from what I already know. So the Rock of Gibraltar is a skyline perfect profile of the compound, the Koresh compound. Try to bring graphics to try to prove this out, but this altar and the alteration of Ara Altair is being flashed on people in a way that they will not even recognize the fallacy of the primacy of presentational immediacy. And that's what keeps hitting me, is this flash from the past, Epimetheus, where I'm realizing, oh my goodness, this has been potent forever. This has been so potent forever. Kind of rambling. So, Whitehead chose to use the term prehension to describe the feeling. In Enneagram language, he is looking at the number 3, the achiever with the shadow of deceit, and he is calling it prehensive. This, you could say it's the 2, 3, 4. You can get parsimonious if you want. The feeling groups, the prehensive groups, are the 2, 3s, and 4s. But what blows my mind is that prehension is an anagram for epsilon. If you do an R to L switch in the word epsilon, it's the word prehension. And so his system is putting words to something that was there way before him. So when people tell you that the Enneagram comes from the 19-something, folks, don't believe that hype. Don't believe that hype. This has been up and running for a very long time. And the true history and the true timeline is a liability. It's a total liability. I know that chronology is important and significant, but for epsilon to be the 3rd prime and him to be talking about prehension is speaking not on the public-facing first level of forms, not talking about the number 3. He's talking about its prime derivative epsilon. And that is a very psychic differential between the 3 and the 5. And it's also the fundamentals of music. This is Euterpe, the muse of music. Now I'm going to say some things that I don't even know what it means. I'm about to talk about some shit that I don't even know what it means. But I'm feeling very prehensive about what it means. I'm feeling prehensive. And when people hear me say these things, they're going to become apprehensive. Because it just doesn't sound like what they thought they knew. putting the Greek primes in order 1 through 9, and then putting the English number system in a flipped correspondence. Look at me. When you flip the correspondence, 1 looks like a row, a flag. The number 1 looks like the row, which is a flag, and technically as the letter S, and S reduces to the 1. So there's reinforced operational validity here. The number 2 looks very much like the pi, which is kind of a tau also. But it looks like the Roman numeral 2. There's a correspondence here. Look how much 1 looks like rho and 2 looks like pi. 3 does not fit the mu. I don't like the 3 to fit the mu. It's not a perfect fit there. I'm not digging it. But the 4 fits the k, and the 5 fits the zeta. This is kappa, this is zeta. The shape of the Greek prime numbers are inversions of the English letters. Here again, the 6, it's not a good shape to fulfill the epsilon. But the 3 is. Again, the 3 and the 6 have a protective anchor, a dichotomy. And this is what Nietzsche harps on all day long. This is Apollo versus Dionysus. And this contention between them, if you do vortex math, it's not perceivable in Enneagram, it's in vortex math, that the 6 and the 3 do not connect. They have to use a mediator. They always draw back up to the 9. So in this speculative meaninglessness that I'm pointing out prehensively, for some reason, again, I'm getting the sense that the 3 and the 6 aren't like the others. And that is so fascinating. The 7 looks like the gamma, and the 8 looks like the beta. I'm not going to say that Greek is fake. I'm not saying that. I'm saying English is holding treasures on a higher dimensional significant plane than what is publicly perceivable. And the fact that the 3 and the 6 will not comport to the other 7 is just fascinating to me beyond belief, because of the circle 63. Where were you in 63? 63rd prime is 666. Or no, 63rd triangular number is 666. There's something really marvelous about the treasure of the circle being preserved by the 6 and the 3 that will not lie. They refuse to lie. The 3 and the 6 will not self-devalue. But these other numbers are full of tricks in movement, in ulterior motives, so to say. And this just blows my mind in magic, in the context of magic, the psychological context of magic. The protective circle is used to fend off the 7 deadly sins. So the 7 other stations are the 7 deadly sins. And valor, bravery, and honesty. Valor and honesty will not move. Those are the remedial virtues of the 3s and the 6s. And they kind of have beef with each other. They kind of have a hero complex with each other. Apollo was late. He tried to appropriate the Dionysian mysteries and keep everything high-minded and refined. Meanwhile, Dionysus is like, yeah, good luck, bro. Yeah, very honest. Dangerously honest. This prehensive value here. It's amazing how even the scientists are talking around the mysteries. All right. I don't know what this means. but it blows my mind. I'm gonna do some art. I'm gonna do some art because uh, people get a little envious when you solve too many riddles. People get a little envious. The Sphinx. I'm just gonna ruin everybody's day. The story of Oedipus and Freud's obsession with Oedipus has everything to do with the hecatone cycles and the collapsing of an empire. And when an empire happens, very inappropriate family relations come to the surface because of the dynamics of the community at large is no longer functional. And so the whole Oedipus, harping on Oedipus, is actually harping on the collapsing of civilizations. And this riddle is in the Sphinx. This is the Sphinx. I hope y'all see that. I could probably do a better drawing. Let's see. Maybe? Y'all see the Sphinx, don't you? Yeah. It's great many riddles within riddles that were not solved at large. So the 1 and the 2 of why did they have to segment the sky into the 12 is a capture for a great many of the ciphers. This is keystone. The 9 is the 9-cycled calendar is hiding the zeros and the ones. The zeros and the ones. Now, real quick, the Antikythera mechanism worked. It worked. But the math was not right. But the results were perfect. But they weren't using their math correctly. What's wrong here? A lot of folks may or may not understand the difference between a 9-based counting system, an 11-based counting system, 20-based counting system. These different fractal lenses of how to even perceive math go right off the radar immediately. It took me months to understand how the Mayans could have a 20-based calendar that had these 3 symbols. These are the 3 symbols of the Mayans in different combinations of the seed, the line, and the dot, expanded out into a complete unrepeating 20-symbol list, 20 symbols long, based on only these 3. And then after 20, they repeat and put a space filler and move on to the next row, you could say. It took me months to learn how to do a 20-based counting system with only 3 symbols. It's such a mental contortion. And I understood it for about a week, and then I lost it again. It all went away. It was such a trip. It's almost like I had an alternate personality for just a week after I had a hold of it. It's like everything's based on 3. Everything is 3, the 3 of everything. You know, in a 20-base system, that's your fingers and your toes because they were barefoot. It's like this is how everything natural really works. I do encourage people to just try to get your head around how the Mayans' math was badass. It was gangster. And now we're in this 20. Now somebody over here had the 10 and the 9. All of these things are not suffering from contradiction. And so when I say people should get a sense of nonsense, what I'm telling you is leave the math you thought was serving you behind. Go study another culture's math and taste the hubris. Enjoy, savor the hubris of realizing that the Antikythera mechanism is wrong. It's wrong. We're just culturally truncated. A lot of us are culturally truncated. All right, I'm getting into some lecture zone. I'm not going to lecture. Big love, everybody. Much respect. You know what? Cash App's down below. All right, peace.